It's Thursday, July 31st. Welcome to Scouting the League, and it's finally time for some NFL football. Well, mostly. The first preseason game of the year kicks off tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern between the Lions and the Chargers. I discussed a little of what I expect from the Chargers after Coach Harbaugh made his Hall of Fame game comments on Monday's episode, but we will dive a little deeper today into the Hall of Fame game. Before we do, though, let me remind you to go like, subscribe, and share this podcast wherever you are listening and watching, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or over on YouTube. Give me a follow. I am at RightStepADV. Check out my website, rsafootball.com, for everything you need to know. My co-host for our Wednesday episode, where we dove in yesterday with Kalen Kaler of ESPN, was fantastic. But again, that co-host, Neil Stratton, he is at Inside the League. And go follow our home over at ProFootballInsiders.com at pro_FB_insiders. Again, on that episode yesterday where me, Neil, and Kalen dove into all things NFLPA was fantastic. Again, maybe you like that audio version as opposed to reading some of those long articles as we get into how the investigation got started, and where it's going to go from here. The NFL not hurting for viewers, not hurting for drama, but again, it's going to affect some games down the line in terms of distraction. Perhaps it affects negotiations. Lots to it. Hopefully it can get resolved, and hopefully nothing else comes to light that is maybe a little bit icky for the NFL. But go check that one out, as well as every other episode we have. Give us those likes, subscribes, follows. Make sure you comment as well. Head over to X. Leave us questions. Leave us comments. Let us know your thoughts on all the episodes. Before we jump in on more, though, also want to give a shout out to our scouts and our aspiring scouts. Make sure you are going over, checking out thescoutingcommunity.com. Again, a spot for resources, networking, data, information, everything we can to do to help both NFL scouts, as we've got a nice group of them, as well as aspiring scouts who are hoping to make it into the league. Again, thescoutingcommunity.com is the place to go sign up, whether you are on either side of the fence. And for those aspiring scouts, make sure you come find both Neil and myself at the Recruiting and Personnel Symposium in Nashville next week. We will be there. Neil will stick out. He's a little taller than most, so you can come find him. I'll just be the bald, bearded guy walking around with Neil. Probably doing some live episodes as well next week, so make sure you tune in for those. Come find us, network, find your connections, build those relationships. So, the Chargers and Lions 2025 Hall of Fame game, the first chance for these two teams to get back on the field, show us what they look like. But again, throw a grain of salt or maybe a spoonful of salt, unless you're really evaluating for the back end of the roster. Pump the brakes on any major takeaways. Yes, maybe injuries will be the big thing that you could take away from this thing. But again, as we've talked about, the rosters and actual spots up for grabs, maybe only a handful of those. Again, as I look at these two rosters, starting with the Lions, again, as I kind of look through their roster, not a deep dive because it could, be maybe one or two off from here. I'm looking at 21 players on offense that are probably making this roster without playing a single snap in the preseason. On defense, I'm looking at about 22 players. That brings us up to 43. You got your three specialists. I believe their returner is probably part of those offensive and defensive members. So you're looking at 46 out of 53 spots that are probably spoken for at this point. That probably won't change again, barring injury. So you really got 7 spots up for grabs for the Lions. On the Charger side, I counted 24 on offense, including my guy, Rashawn Slater, who just got paid. One of the most fun prospects I ever evaluated. Loved getting to know him through that COVID process. It was a different one, but again, such a clean, fun prospect. Again, huge props to Duke Manyweather down there with the O-line guy, the O-line guru, if I have to use that word. Again, he does a fantastic job with those guys. But again, Rashawn, part of that group of 24 players on offense for the Chargers, are probably locked in. I'm counting 22 on defense that I think are probably going to be a part of that roster. Brings us to 46. Again, 3 special teams guys that gets up to 49. So again, you're talking maybe 4 roster spots for the Chargers. So again, you're not talking about a lot of roster spots for the other, 45 some players, maybe 50 players that are really going to be competing in that Hall of Fame game. So what do you look for if there's something you can watch during a Hall of Fame game during these preseason games, knowing that, again, 45-ish to 48, 49 roster spots are probably spoken for? The number one thing, look for unknowns. Look for those unknown players, whether they're new to a team, they're drafted players, they're undrafted players. Look for players we know versus players we don't. Again, as I'm looking at these 2 rosters, again, the Chargers, 4 quarterbacks on the roster. Again, Justin Herbert, Taylor Heineke, both knows. I don't expect either of those guys to play. Maybe Taylor suits up, maybe plays a series, but again, we know who Taylor is. We know what Taylor is. Fantastic fit backup for this Chargers roster. After that, you've got Trey Lance, highly regarded draft pick that has a lot of questions still. Is he ever going to take the next steps? And then you've got the rookie who was at one time thought to be the number 1 overall quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei. Again, you've got 2 giant question marks. I'm expecting those guys to play about 100% of the snaps, if not all 100% of the snaps, and maybe a first half, second half. Find out, all right, is one of these guys a true number 3? Are the Chargers going to carry 2? Again, with the new quarterback rules, maybe you can kind of fudge it, move it around a little bit. Are they both practice squad guys? Again, does Trey show you enough at this point, 5 years into his NFL career, to say, hey, yeah, this guy still does have developmental upside, or hey, let's invest everything in DJ, go the other way? On the Lions side, a surprising NFL Hall of Fame game team with only 3 quarterbacks on the roster. You're talking Jared Goff, not going to play, shouldn't play, don't expect him to suit up. After that, you get Hendon Hooker, who we know a little bit about, but again, I expect him to get some good snaps in this game, if for nothing else, because you don't want to throw Kyle Allen, again, another known, into the Hall of Fame game and play 100% of snaps. This is a unique situation for the Lions where, again, I would say both of their backups are fairly well known. We know who Hendon is. There's a lot of Hendon love out there. Again, barring something crazy, a crazy trade happening, he's going to be your backup. That is a fantastic security blanket, rookie salary, backup quarterback that provides some really good elements. Again, I don't expect him to go anywhere, but for an 8-year vet in Kyle Allen, who, again, is a known. We know who Kyle Allen is. Teams know who Kyle Allen is. To not have a 4th who can play a lot of snaps is a little bit surprising to me looking at this roster. Again, I expect Hendon and Kyle really to split snaps. Again, when you want to talk Hendon, more development, more in this game. But again, you also don't want to put him behind, again, 3rd string offensive lineman who, may be revolving doors, getting him beat up, because you don't want to lose Hendon Hooker as your backup. So again, you talk about that known to unknown with these positions and go through all of it. Again, who do we know on the O-line? Who's going to be a question mark? Who was signed as a free agent? Who is in a new spot? Who's going to be kind of working those things in? Again, if they were a high-end free agent, I don't expect them to play in this game. It's really going to be those rookies, those maybe 2nd and 3rd year guys who don't have any or just a few NFL snaps. Figure out who they're going to be, what role they're going to play on the team. So again, we're looking for those depth battles. Who's going to step up? Who's going to fill those spots there for the Presidential Hall of Fame game? It means they're going to be on that roster bubble. So you can also look at who is playing the most. Again, we talked about these quarterbacks. We talked about with these other positions. Who are the guys that we really want to see from a team standpoint, from a scouting standpoint, play a bunch of snaps? They're going to play some X, Z, and slot at wide receiver. They're going to play some outside corner, some nickel corner, maybe flex some safety, figure out where they're at. Again, it's not always a great thing from a making the 53 to all of a sudden look up and be like, wow, he played 70% of the Hall of Fame game. Again, maybe they were just trying to get through the game. Again, a 20 to 25 snaps in the Hall of Fame game showed good things. That's a better sign than, man, this guy played 60 snaps in the Hall of Fame game. Again, from other teams, the other 30, 31 teams are going to be scouting these players on the Chargers and the Lions as they're looking at this. Yeah, we love the film. With only 3 Hall of Fame games, Pro Scout are going to really get after this film in the next couple of days. Again, we love to see 30, 40, 50 snaps because we can start to get a better feel. All right, this guy practice squad. He's a street list guy. We're not interested in him. He's a reject for us. So again, look at the number of snaps. And again, it's a little bit inverse where, again, just because a guy's playing a bunch of snaps, maybe not the best sign for that player's future with the team. What role on special teams are these players playing? Again, as you start to look at those top 45 players, again, you can slot in about 10 or 12 of them to be core special teams guys. They're going to be guards and tackles on punt. They're going to be return guys. They're going to be good guys that can play all four spots. So again, think about who the starters are and then who are going to be the backups. We start looking at these guys on special teams and it's like, wow, they don't really have a guy who fits this mold. They get a bigger, maybe an outside linebacker type role, type body type on a 4-3 team. But man, he was playing some really good special team snaps, and I don't know who they slot in front of him. Again, those are the type of spots to look, all right? Not just who is playing special teams, but what's the path to be a starter on special teams. That's going to help break those ties, fill in some of those back end, again, roster spot 45 to 53 active game day players. Look for who's healthy. I've talked about it before. Who is healthy? Again, wide receivers, corners, safeties, high mileage guys. If you get hurt at this point, if you got a soft tissue and you're a back end guy, again, if you haven't been cut at this point, you're lucky. You got to be on the field. You got to stay healthy. Again, there is not much time for these players to prove it. Again, health, soft tissue, little things that end up being nagging can absolutely crush and end a guy's career. Another thing to look for, who's got traits. Again, who just looks like they belong out on the NFL field. Height, weight, speed, explosiveness. Again, there's just something about him like, man, that guy just looks a little different. Again, it's something college scouts are doing at college practices. Again, I talked about it the other day when Bernard Ryman out of Central Michigan got his big extension. Not a Blesto preseason guy. I walked out to Central Michigan's practice and I'm like, that guy looks like an NFL tackle. I threw a big, I think it was a 3rd round grade initially and said, hey, let's see what this guy really looks like all season. Again, Luke Gadecki, his other tackle, again, down in Tampa Bay. 2 guys, they looked like NFL players. In the preseason, there's always going to be players that look like that as well. Again, maybe they're raw, maybe they're developed, maybe they're, Mark Delgarian's international prospects that we talked about. And again, maybe they're guys that are going to need some time on the practice squad. But again, you can kind of slot those guys in. That looks like an NFL guy. He's got NFL traits. There's something missing. Again, that's going to be a guy to stand out and watch. Again, not just preseason Hall of Fame game, but preseason weeks 1, 2, and 3 as everybody gets their games on the roll. Again, kind of a last thing, a unique role. Again, the Lions have a player in Sione Vaki out of Utah that's a really fun, unique player, 2-way player, linebacker, running back, special teams guy. Again, find out how these guys are going to have unique value, unique roles for these teams. Does he truly have 2-way value? Is he a Shohei Ohtani of the NFL? Can he actually fill a roster spot? Answer an extra question as you get to week 10, 12, 14, when guys are going to go down, when you've got to get a few less snaps, maybe from a top-end guy. But again, a guy like Sione Vaki could fill both roles. Got a guy fighting for a roster spot. Does he settle into one spot, or are we going to see him playing both ways to really increase his value? Again, all good questions. Again, as it always is with scouting, going into a game with some questions you want to answer, look for some specific things and try to find the answers, not just this week, but again, as you continue to watch practice, watch preseason games, and follow the team. So turn it on, enjoy the NFL being back on TV, but again, think about the real matchups happening at the back end of the roster that are going to determine who is really on that roster bubble. Again, NFL pro scouts are going to be looking through that back, maybe 50 players. Hey, who do we need to keep an eye on? Who could be a surprise roster cut? Who could be worth trade, practice squad, poaching for our roster? All of it is a lot of fun. It all kicks off tonight with that Hall of Fame game. I will be tuning in at some point. I will definitely be looking at the film in the coming days, and I can assure you that I'm going to be scouting it all. So pro scouts are going to be combing the film. I'm going to be combing the film. You find a way to be combing the film, and be finding me at the Recruiting and Personnel Symposium next week in Nashville. Have fun with it. Come find me. Hit me up on X at RightStepADV. Let me know you're going to be there. Maybe some of you out there listening, I'll grab you. We'll jump on a quick live version of this podcast as we hit a couple of those. Find Neil, find myself. See you next week. Enjoy the Hall of Fame game. Keep scouting.